Andrew. I am the Fort Bend County Law Librarian. And so today we're going to talk about advanced legal research. And this class is really a follow-up to my first class, which is Introduction to Legal Research. Now, both of these can be taken separately. They are not something that you have to take together. But the reason I kind of separate these two classes is really the first class, Introduction to Legal Research, which I will be offering again next month, is really kind of an introduction to legal resources. You know, what are legal resources? What are the different kinds of legal resources? Where to find them? And so you kind of get orientated before you do what we're going to talk about today, which is really the main parts of legal research. This is the actual doing part. So let's go ahead and get started. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about where to begin. We're going to talk about, once you have an understanding of legal resources, where are we going to find those resources? Where are we going to begin our legal research? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about some basic search techniques. We're going to talk about especially how to use a little bit about Westlaw and LexAdvance. We're going to talk about using indexes. We're going to talk about table of contents. We're going to talk about all the different types of resources to actually do your research. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about tips and strategies for Westlaw. You know, I like to talk about what's on Westlaw so you have an idea of what's on there, and then a little bit on how to use it. And then the same for LexAdvance as well. So let's go ahead and move on. So what do you need to know to begin? I always recommend know what you're looking for, right? If you try to look for all these things at once that you might end up needing down the road, you can get a little bit overwhelmed. So kind of know what you're looking for. Are you looking for primary law? Are you looking for secondary material? So are you looking for cases, statutes? Are you looking for administrative code resources? Those are all primary law. So you need to know what kind of format, what kind of document you're looking for. Are you looking for secondary material? Are you looking for just information? Are you looking for forms? Are you looking for just, you know, an encyclopedia article? Know what you're looking for so you don't get overwhelmed. I do also recommend make a list of keywords, okay? And there's a reason for that. Well, actually multiple reasons for that. But the main reason for that is that when attorneys or judges write their motion, they write their pleading, judges write their opinions, you know, they're not going to use the same word, okay? As you know, English has multiple synonyms to mean the same thing. So make a list of keywords, try to make sure that you try to come up with different versions of each word so that you're not missing anything. Now, in the case of, you know, statutes or codes, likely the legislature is going to use one word to mean that particular thing. So when you're doing, you know, statute or code research, legislative history, you don't necessarily need to find synonyms of that particular word. But especially when you're doing case law research or even secondary research, the author or the attorney or the judge may use something completely different. So as an example, let's say I'm coming to do some legal research and I need to find case law dealing with separation of tax returns and divorce proceedings. You know, this is what librarians do. So when somebody comes in and says, you know, I need case law dealing with separation of tax returns and divorce, what am I going to pull out of that sentence? What kind of keywords am I going to pull out? Well, first of all, I already know what document this person needs. They need case law, right? The other kind of keywords I'm going to pull out of there are going to be separation. We're going to pull out tax, maybe even tax returns. You know, there's going to be some synonyms there. We're going to pull out divorce, which could also be separation of marriage, or dissolution of marriage. So there's going to be other keywords that we can use that mean similar things. All right, some basic search techniques. We know what we're looking for, case law. We know what our topics are. We've made our list of keywords. So now, how do we begin some general research? Well, first of all, you need to understand what Boolean operators are. So when you're doing any kind of database research, whether you're looking on a science database, a history database, or a legal database in this instance, they all use Boolean operators. And what these do is they allow you to have the most accurate search strategy. Examples of those are going to be and, or, and not. Symbols such as the star. They can also be slashes. They can be, the and symbol. Sometimes they're going to be a percent sign. There's a lot of different ways that a database is going to use symbols so that it understands what you're looking for. Now, each database is going to have kind of in their advanced search area, they'll have a list of what those Boolean operators are and what they mean. But we're going to talk about just some general ones. You don't necessarily need to use all the more advanced ones. But let's talk about and or not specifically. So you've got your list of keywords and you want to use and. So what does and mean? And means you're going to be looking for both of those keywords. So if I'm looking for divorce and tax, it's going to find any case law, because we're searching for case law here. It's going to find any case law that has both of those words in it. Okay? And. Now, if I put or in between divorce and tax, it's going to be divorce or tax. So that means it's only going to find one of those words in that case law. So it may just be a divorce case, but it has nothing to do with tax, or vice versa. And then if you put not in between, so if I put divorce not tax, it's just going to find divorce cases. If it has tax in there, even if it's a divorce case, it's going to throw it out. Okay? So these databases have a form of artificial intelligence. It tries to figure out what you need based upon your search. Okay? So there are some other different ways to search. Keyword searching. Again, your list of keywords. You'll need to plug and play those with your Boolean operators. This is with the Boolean operators and your keyword searching, this is going to be the most accurate way to search. Mainly because it's going to find most of the things that you're looking for based upon your search, because the database knows exactly what you're trying to do when you use those Boolean operators. Now, if you do something like phrase searching, and you say, I want case law on, tax separation, separation of your tax returns, you may miss things because it's not quite as accurate, because it's going to be trying to look for that specific phrase, whatever you've typed in there. So it may miss things because an attorney may not use that phrase, and it'll have to have all those words in it for the database to be able to find it. So you may miss a lot of cases that way. The next type of searching is what we call natural language. So that's going to be basically the way you would say it. So I want case law on taxes and divorce. This is the least accurate because, not to mention, it's a phrase, but it's also going to be probably a much longer sentence. So to try to find that particular natural language, the artificial intelligence is going to try to figure out what you want. But obviously, it's not us, and so it's going to miss things. So just be aware of that. Now, I would recommend using all types of these searches on both databases. And the reason I say that is because while Westlaw and Lexis do have things that overlap, they have different artificial intelligence. They have different search algorithms. And so you may find things on one database that you don't find on the other. So I recommend using both. I recommend using all these different types of search techniques because they'll find different things for you. And so you might do a Boolean search and a keyword search, and you find 5 cases that apply. And then you do a phrase search and you find 2 more that you didn't find in that original search. And then if you do a natural language search, you might find another one. So now you have 6 cases that you can sit down and look through to see if they work for you in your case. Okay? So basic tips for Westlaw. By the way, if you have any questions, please hold them to the end. I did mute everybody, but I'll unmute you at the end. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask them. But what do you find on Westlaw? Well, you can find pretty much anything when dealing with legal research. So we're talking cases, statutes, court rules, secondary material like forms, treatises, encyclopedias, mainly because it's the preeminent database for legal research. It's been around the longest. It's got the most resources, and we do have it here at the Law Library. Now, unfortunately, because we are closed right now, you don't have access to Westlaw. Now, you do have access to Lexis, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. But for whatever reason, Thomson Reuters has decided to no longer allow that outside the library. So unfortunately, while we are closed, you won't be able to use it. However, if there's something you would like from it, you would like us to do a simple search for you, we can send you the results page. And that way you can start looking through it. Primarily, this is the best database for primary law research, mainly because it's got all 50 states and federal law. So if you're trying to do, compare one state's laws to another, this is the database to do that. I also find it easier just to do primary law research for Texas too. It's very easy to use. The results are very strong. And again, like I said, it's got the most resources. We have 4 terminals here at the Law Library. It's on computers 1 through 4. But again, right now, unfortunately, we're going to have to, you'll have to call or email us to get those resources. So basic tips for LexAdvance. And by the way, unfortunately, I can't show you Westlaw here today, but I am going to show you LexAdvance, and we're going to do it a little live here in just a minute. So what can you find on LexAdvance? Well, you can find cases, statutes, court rules, forms, treatises, encyclopedia, just like you can on Westlaw. So LexAdvance can do everything Westlaw does. However, it's really the best resource for secondary material. And the reason I say that is because it's got the Matthew Bender practice guides, it's got the James Publishing forms, which I find very easy for pro se litigants. And I've had a lot of pro se litigants that say they're easier to fill out. And of course, they're searchable. The forms and information can be downloaded or emailed. And by the way, you got it access to from home right now. So if you want access to it from home, you will have to email us, call us, and we'll submit a request for you to get a temporary login. Now, you do need to have a updated Fort Bend County Library's library card. And so once you have that done, you've got a library card, it's up to date, we'll get you that login for you. We have it on 3 terminals here, computers number 4 through number 6. But again, of course, we're closed, and you'll have to get a temporary login, or like we do with Westlaw, we'll get you access to it. We'll send you what you need. Okay, let's go straight to LexAdvance. So let me pull that up here. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of do a live presentation of, I'm just going to do some simple legal research here. All right, here we go. Let me change my share. All right. If you can't see that for some reason, please post it in the chat, and I will see what we can do to fix that. Okay, so we talked about keywords. We talked about Boolean operators. We talked about different search techniques. So we're going to go ahead and have an example here for you. So when you get to the main page here on Lexis, there's a couple things that you can do really quickly to start narrowing your searches. One, we talked about what kind of document are you looking for. In this case, we're going to go ahead and just look for cases. So if you click on all categories here, hit cases. And then for jurisdictions, since we're in Texas, let's go ahead and just hit Texas. Okay, so now we've already narrowed our search fairly well. We are looking for case law, and we're looking for case law here in Texas. So now we come over here. My recent search is there. There's some examples of keywords and how they might fit together. But we're going to go ahead and do our search like we've been doing before. So we're looking for case law like our question was. We are going to look for divorce. Here's our Boolean operator now. We're going to look for and, tax, and let's look for return maybe. Actually, you know what? Let's look for separation because that's really one of the bigger keywords we need. So we're going to try and, our Boolean operator. We've got 3 of our keywords. We're going to hit search. You hit the little magnifying glass there. Well, we've got 518 results. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to sit here and look through 518 cases. It's just way too much, right? So there's a few things that we can do to narrow our search. So over here on the left-hand side, we've got some different options here that we can narrow our search. First one is our timeline. So this is pulling cases from as far back as 1858. We probably don't want to cite something that old. We're going to want something that's a little more recent. So if you hit the little scroll bar here, let's scroll over. Let's try to do the last 3 years. 2018. Hit OK. We're now down to 39 cases. That's pretty good. And not all these 39 cases are going to apply to what you're dealing with. So we're now down to 39 cases. One thing that Lexis does, and compared to Westlaw, is that Lexis will color code your keywords. So you can see just how many times, if you come down here where it says summary and opinions, you can see how many times your keywords show up in this particular case. And that might tell you right off the bat how much this might apply to your particular issue. So it looks like this one, all 3 keywords do show up. So this may be one that we want to look at. Another thing to pay attention to is right over here on the left-hand side of each case. This one's Oliver v. Oliver. They have a Shepardize citation. So what Shepardize is it's going to try to tell you whether it's still good law. Okay, so it's kind of a guideline for you to look at and pay attention to. Because if, let's see if I can find an example here. This one's got a green plus sign. That means it's gotten some positive treatment. It's been upheld. Maybe it's got a parallel citation that has used this case to, for an argument later on, that it becomes a landmark case. Sometimes you might have one that has an A, which just means it's been cited somewhere by a following case. That really means it's pretty neutral, and it's not going to mean it's either good or bad. A yellow triangle like this one means it's got some possible negative treatment. There may be something in here that maybe has been overruled by a subsequent case. Maybe it's been questioned in some way by a following case. So you need to look at that to see, does that hurt your argument? Does that, maybe you have to go a different route? These are just some things you got to consider when you see that one. Now, the one that's really one you need to ignore is going to be the one that has a red stop sign. Let's see if I have an example of it here. Most of these seem to have parallel citations, maybe a little cautionary treatment. No, I'm not seeing one here. That's okay. I think you have a pretty good idea what a red stop sign looks like. So it's going to be, an octagon that's red. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our case here. I'm just going to click on Oliver v. Oliver just because it's the first option here. So there's going to be a few things you're going to want to look at when you open up this case. So right here again, here's our highlighted keywords. So you can jump to, because it makes a little hand there, you can kind of jump to any one of these sections. A thing to look at as well, so you don't have to read the entire case, right here under case summary. So what this is kind of the attorneys that edit this database. They're going to take the case, they're going to read it themselves, and they're going to kind of give you a sort of summary here of what this case is about. And a lot of times that's going to, if you read the short summary, a lot of times that's going to tell you whether this case applies to what you're dealing with or not. So if you kind of read through this case, you can already see that tax and divorce doesn't necessarily show up. We do have separation in here. So you can kind of see that this is really talking about separation, and actually you can see it right here, separate property. So we're talking about property here. We're not talking about taxes. Now you could read through farther in here. There could be something buried deep in the case that deals with taxes. But especially if you've got limited time and you want something that just, goes straight into what you need, this is probably a case you might want to ignore and move on to the next one. Okay. So again, here in case summary, you can already see the outcome. Judgment is affirmed. So, you can already see the outcome before you get into it. It also has a quick citation of the different sections of the family code that are highlighted here. And by the way, any highlighted link like this is something you can click on and you can go straight to that section of the code. Maybe it's another case, what have you. You'll be able to get access to that. Okay. So other couple things here we talk about in my original class, Introduction to Legal Research, we do talk about legal citation. So here's where you can copy your citation of the case so that if you want to throw that into your brief, your motion, what have you, whatever you're working on, let's say this case did apply to your issue, you can just click on that and then plug it into your legal document. Couple things else you can do. Let's say this is a case that you do want. Right up here in the top left side, you can print, you can email, you can download, and again, this will download in Word format, PDF. You can email it to yourself in those file types. So that makes that really easy. Another thing that you can do, maybe you feel like this case might still apply. You can always click on search document and you can type in your tax or what other keyword that you've got on your list. And then you can hit search and see if that particular keyword shows up later on. And then you can kind of scroll through and see, if there's any instances in there that you might actually want to read. As far as Shepards go, again, we saw the little brief Shepardize marker here saying it does have citation information, but if you want to click on Shepardize, especially if it's got a yellow triangle or a red stop sign, you want to Shepardize it to see what part of that case has been overruled and is no longer good law, so that you can make a decision on whether you want to use this case or not. So if you click on Shepardize this case, you can kind of go through here see the level of discussion, which is kind of just the attorneys on here kind of making a rough guess on, based on your keyword search, how much discussing on those keywords is it, or how much on this particular case. So actually, I should say this case was cited in a follow-up case, NF 2020, Texas Appellate Court. That's their Lexus number that they've cited. How much is the case you're looking at, Oliver v. Oliver, actually discussed in this Court of Appeals case? So it kind of just gives you so it looks like it wasn't discussed all that much. It might have been mentioned once. And here's where it's actually where they're talking about it. So you could click here and see the discussion. Now, if it was a yellow triangle, especially because a red stop sign, you may very well not want to look at that case anyway, because again, limited time. You want to make sure you're not wasting any time. So let's say it was a yellow triangle and you clicked on this, then you could see the actual discussion and see if it's hurtful to your case or not. Okay. So that is just a simple case search using some Boolean operators. But let's go back to the main page and see, let's do a little bit of a secondary search. So there's a couple different ways to get to that. If you scroll down, you can hit here on sources. Oh, I'm sorry, not sources, practice area. And now you can click a particular practice area. Maybe you're doing family law. There you go. Maybe you're doing taxes. Maybe you're doing, a contract law. You can click on those and it will start your general research. So you can do that there. You can also go to content and select secondary material. Maybe you want to look at them all at one time. Maybe you want to just look at forms. So if you click on secondary material here and then sample forms, again, we really want to narrow this to Texas. So that way a lot of your forms are narrowed here. Maybe I'm just going to simply type in, a name of a form here, like Affidavit of Airship. I hit enter, but you can also hit the magnifying glass there. We've got 39 forms here. As you can see, Affidavit of Airship shows up here in our sample forms. Here's an Affidavit of Airship. I'm going to click on it. And this comes from our Texas Transaction Guide, which is actually a print book that I have on my shelf. And then you can scroll down here and you can see the form. As you can see, this is fairly close to fill in the blank. There's a few things you're going to have to edit when you get to this document, plug and play. You've got some blanks here that you got to fill in, things like that. There could be situations where, like this one, include date, signature, and juror provided in the general form, and then here's the citation of that form. So you may have to, you may have to, why is that not letting me cancel? Anyway. You may have to copy and paste a different form in here. I think actually here at the top, yeah, you do have to plug your style in here at the top. And you can hit table of contents and go back to that particular form and copy and paste it in there. Again, these are just like your case law. You can download, print, or email. They print in PDF, they print in Word, so they're already formatted for you. And I'll just kind of show you as an example here. So if you click download, it's already defaulting to Microsoft Word. I'm going to open it and I'm going to have to change my share here because it's not going to share that to you until I change. So I'm going to hit share. Microsoft Word. There you go. And so now you can see that kind of what they look like in Word. You will need to click, enable editing here. So now it's ready for you to start editing. You can highlight that and remove it, plug in your style there at the top, start filling out your blanks. and everything, so you're good to go there. Okay. Let me go back to Lexis. How do I do that? Okay, 1 second. There we go. Now we're back. Okay. So that is just a general secondary search. Again, you can do that with all kinds of secondary material, not just forms. Again, you can hit your search within documents so that you can find a particular section that you're looking for. Maybe it has the, the language that you're looking for to include. So you can do that. Go back to my main page here. Let's see. You can also do statutes and legislation. Let's just go ahead and do a statutory codes here. Again, we want to search Texas. Click on our Texas statutes and codes annotated. And so now you've got all the codes listed here. Maybe you want to look at a particular section of the estates code, your Texas family code. Maybe there's something in there dealing with tax. So again, to be able to search these things with your keywords, maybe I just want to search the Texas family code. And I can search tax. And here, by the way, I'll just show you an example of one of the other Boolean operators. If I use star, that's going to find all the forms of that word. So tax, taxes, taxing, taxor. So all that's going to be included. I'm going to hit tax in the family code here. So as you can see there are 106 instances of tax in the family code, so you'll have to do a little bit more narrowing. You can come over here to practice area and topics, hit family law. That didn't drop anything. That's okay. Jurisdiction is still Texas, so we can't narrow that. So this may be an instance where you got to really just kind of dig through here. Use one of your other keywords. So like for instance, now I'm going to use the and in divorce. See what we come up with. Yeah, so it dropped down to 72. There's probably going to be some more narrowing you got to do to make that a little bit easier. Other things that I would recommend keeping up with, especially if you've got limited time and you need to do research on multiple, across multiple days, but you don't want to lose a lot of your search history. So if you click on history here, you can now see all your search here. You can actually click on, if you click on view all history, and then you can keep track of all your search history here. So you'll probably need to, copy the link to this page, because if you do use it here in the library, it will delete your search history each time. Another way to do this, if you like, I'm going to just click on my tax and divorce search here. One of the ways to do this, actually, let's see here. Yeah, you can do the link. You can actually add searches to a particular folder, so it'll save it for later. Actually, the best way to do it, because we do delete everything, just email your search to yourself, whether in PDF or Word. That way, you can just plug and play it right back in there, and you don't, or you can download it actually if you want to use it for a flash drive or what have you. That way you can get right back to where you were at, and you don't have to kind of re-add everything again. It'll just pull that search back up for you. All right, so that's just kind of a quick rundown of advanced legal research. So if you have any questions, let me unmute you here and ask away. You'll have to unmute yourself first. I gave you permission to unmute, but if you have any questions, go ahead and unmute there.
Hi.
Yes, hi.
So if I want to replace my attorney now for child support, and I'm going to have to go pro se, I'm going to go to the form section of this, and there's just a plain form to do.
You're saying to tell the court that you're going to be pro se and you no longer have.
Yeah, my attorney hadn't answered me in a year, so.
Okay.
So
Actually, there should be a form that's already filled out. I should say filled out. It's fill in the blank on the, I think it's on the district court's website. That way you don't have to go looking all across the planet for it. But yes, you do need to tell the court that you're changing representation.
And then how do you file it once I find the form?
You would just file it with the county clerk.
But you don't do that all online now, or you have to go there?
You can do either one. So you can e-file it, or you can come up here to the courthouse and file it yourself. Either way.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see here. Let me share my screen so you can kind of see where this is. There you go. So to get to the county clerk's website, and this is also where you can file documents as well. So if you come here to government, district clerk, so they have a whole bunch of forms here in their forms library. Let's see. So I believe they have attorney vacation form. It used to have a change of representation. Well, I can get you that form if you need it. We've got some on our, they used to have it right in here, but it looks like they've removed that. Anyway, let me show you where to e-file. So if you come back to the district clerk main page here, there's e-filing information. So this is kind of quick instructions on how to do that. And then where is choose your, well, this tells you how to do it. They normally have an e-file link on here. Well, regardless, you can go to, it's just efiletexas.gov. So efile tx. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Yeah, I did. I forgot that capital. So it's efiletexas.gov. Can you see that there?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so you would come on here, you would need to do, I believe it's the state EFSP, and then you do have to create an account. You just register here. It's free to register, and then you'll be able to e-file. But I would recommend coming here to e-filing information, kind of sort through this, especially this pro se litigant self-help. That way you don't have to come in here and file your document. And that kind of gives you some brief instructions on how to do that.
Thank you.
But if you send me, I've got your email through the registration, so I'll send you that change of representation form.
I appreciate it.
So you have that. Do you have any other questions?
I do not.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll get that to you as soon as I can.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great day.